Saturday, everybody. Welcome to PAX West. My name is Garrett Fuller. I work for Critical Hit Consulting, and I'm incredibly lucky to work with the people from Intrepid Studios on a little project called Ashes of Creation. That's not little at all.
Not anymore.
But I will go through our introductions and talk about this esteemed group of gentlemen in front of you who are working, I think, one of the hardest working teams in games, which makes me really excited, and it's great to see that. So give them a round of applause just for the fact that they are working a lot. So next to me here, he probably has one of the toughest jobs as lead technical designer, but Akil Hooper.
Hi, everyone. I also want to say hi to my son, Logan, who's watching on Twitch. He's pretty excited to see me up
Logan?
here. So.
Hi, Logan.
What's up, Logan? Akil actually has worked on, he was on EverQuest as well. So he goes back into MMOs almost as far as I do, which is great. Next to him, I'm not messing it up this PAX, is Jeff Bard.
Thank you. Not fair. Hi, everybody.
Progress.
Jeff is proficient in the lute and the panpipe, so he will be playing for us later. Jeff is actually lead game designer, and he was also lead game designer on EverQuest 2,
Yep.
and several other things. Right?
Yeah, we go way back at Sony. So.
Awesome. Next to him is one of my favorite people, and I always say this, and I'm going to say it again. I love getting his calls at 7 a.m. Don't mind, because it's 7 a.m. East Coast times, which means he's up at 4 a.m., which I wish I could do that. But you're and our creative director, Stephen Sharif, and CEO of Intrepid as well. So I'm going to throw this in. Thank you for making MMOs great again. Because
Thank you.
Nice.
Next to him is Matt Broom. Matt is your lead character artist.
Hello, Broom family. Hello.
Matt makes sure that all of us look absolutely amazing as our avatars on the screen, which I think is also one of the most fun jobs in games. But he has quite a resume. He's worked on DC Universe, PlanetSide, H1Z1.
A bunch of comics you probably heard of.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, see, that's the cool part, right? It's the comic art. I'm good at stick figures, Matt, if you ever need someone to do stick figure artwork. And last but not least, we have fantastic discussions about first edition Dungeons and Dragons. So anybody in here can do that. Awesome. Michael Bacon, who is your environmental artist.
Thank you.
So Michael makes sure that the worlds you see in Ashes of Creation are absolutely stunning, and they are. And he's worked on, everything. I mean, we were just, EverQuest.
Because I'm old.
EverQuest, Saints Row, lots of things. So you have this amazing panel. You have this great studio that continues to grow. So let's get the quick stuff out of the way. Of the studio's been growing a lot, and tell everybody what you've been growing about. Towards. I'm going to leave it to you guys. Go ahead.
Well, it's been actually really crazy. We were here last year, 1 year ago, and today we now have over 100 people on the project. And we are growing to 200 people on the project before the end of this year. So we have ramped up production and speed towards getting you guys the game that you saw the vision for and you signed on for, knowing that this was answering the call of many gamers for the past decade, that we haven't been able to really see an MMORPG hold the ideals that we want to see in a game. And it really is so fulfilling to watch over the past year the team grow to the size we are. And I mean, we're literally bursting at the seams in the office.
We don't fit anymore.
Right. We have engineers in France. We have artists in Malaysia. We're now working on the project 24/7 across the globe.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about back in PAX, how many people did we have back then? It was...
At PAX? I don't know. Yeah, I think it was like 20.
Yeah.
Like 25 maybe.
Yeah, so I mean, we've quadrupled in size basically, and you can kind of see the results of that in kind of what we've been working on. You know, it's been fun. It's been trying to integrate everybody into like our way of doing things is challenging, but also rewarding. You get a lot of buy-in from people who haven't experienced kind of our pace of doing things, nor our kind of like, you know, way of getting things done. It's been fun. We've got a lot of really cool people, a lot of really smart, sharp cats that are all on the project now, and
it's actually been really fun watching as we bring new members on board the team. That literally the day they sit down in their seat, they're producing something.
Go.
Up and running.
There's no time for waiting.
There's no time.
No.
We're
Sink or
moving at
swim.
intrepid speed. We say it in the office a lot. Yeah, no, the growth has been amazing over the past year.
Awesome. I have this image of, hi, congratulations, welcome to Intrepid Studios. Please sit down. This is Akil, and he's going to be directing you on how to code.
That's pretty much true,
much it, yeah.
except for the high congratulations part.
That's pretty darn
Great.
close.
It's great.
oh no, Sons of the Seven.
Casually. I didn't
No
spill.
banner shall fall. That's the key.
That wasn't me.
So what's fascinating, and this is an experience I've gone through. I hope maybe some of you have gone through in the audience, but you guys just got back from Germany and Gamescom, and Gamescom is a 400,000 person show. I've been there.
I had no idea how big it was.
Yeah, it is a beast of a show. But apparently, you had a very successful Gamescom. So can you tell us a little bit about that? It was a week ago.
We literally actually decided to go to Gamescom 48 hours before the flight left. It was like down to the wire. I lost my passport too, actually, and I was like trying to find it, and I had to run down to the passport office in San Diego in the middle of the day before the flight left, and got my passport the same day. It was crazy. But no, we had a very successful Gamescom. Yeah. I mean, every single press interview that we did, we were in the business side of things, so all the meetings that we had were literally you could watch as people didn't have any idea what Ashes of Creation was, and then their jaw just dropped after they saw the most recent combat footage that we showed. And that was really fun to see their transition, because we had the laptop set up with a screen in a room, and we would show them first Alpha Zero. Well, first we would show them pre-alpha footage, then Alpha Zero footage, and then we'd show them the most recent footage, and they would literally just their face would go white with like, what is this?
Yeah, we would tag team them and convert them over to our side. We had a lot of influencers come by. We had some fans come by.
We got two awards.
We got 2 awards.
Yeah,
best online
and
game.
best independent game.
Yeah.
That
so
was cool.
that was really awesome, actually. We didn't expect that at all, being kind of in the business section.
Right. It was awesome.
But yeah.
Cool. Well, now that we got all of the business talk out of the way, let's get to the great part, right? Which is, what have you guys been doing? Because I think you have some surprises today for the group here at PAX that even I was getting messages from Steven last night about, and I'm like, oh, okay, we're going to be talking about that. Let's do it. So why don't you guys start, and we can go through the whole panel and talk about what you've been doing lately, because it's. Trust me, you guys are going to be jumping out of your seats in about 20 minutes.
I think we might have a timeline image that we could probably find that might help kind of set the stage for the process from there to now.
Don't make Peter nervous. He's scrambling.
I'm
back
sorry,
Peter's scrambling. We've already changed the format.
Peter.
Off the rails.
There it is. There it is.
Oh, there we go. Okay, no, that's Alpha 1 Phase 1.
Here's all their slides.
Okay, and we're running through the slides. That's okay.
Those
we'll
are
find
some
it.
shields.
Surprise.
Okay.
Hey,
so-
we don't have
shields are
audio
awesome,
issues,
by
so
No, we don't have audio issues. That's
And thank you.
No, okay. So I mean, where we came from and where we are, in the past really 4 or 5 months of development has been, when the Kickstarter ended in June and the summer backing ended in July, I believe.
We went to PAX after that.
We went to PAX West. So we came to PAX West and we came with a really early build, and that was important for us for a few reasons, right? Because one, being a Kickstarter game can have somewhat of a stigma associated with it, because some games kind of go for years and years and years, and they don't put anything in the hands of the players to get active feedback, to show development process, that kind of thing. So it was really important for us to come to PAX West a year ago, even if it was such an early build. And that's obviously a two-edged sword, because you're dealing with people thinking, okay, this is what the game's going to look like. And on the flip side, you want that feedback and design features that we're implementing and the back end that we're building, right?
And we also want to establish that trust, right? Like, we are working on stuff hard for you guys, and it's not really fair to hide that from you, right? Or to keep that from you. And because of that stigma with Kickstarter, it was really important to like, here, take it. See,
Yes.
we're doing stuff.
Exactly. So that's what we came to PAX West last year. We had that PAX build.
So there was like one boss in that.
Yeah.
There were 4 classes. There was a couple skills. Like
No
3
progression.
mobs.
There was no
total.
persistence yet.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
was, you're just kind of running through and getting a feel for the world and what the game's all about, just kind of showing the players and stuff. So that took us 4 or 5 months.
No, that took us 2
Oh,
it was like
yeah,
2.5 months.
I'm sorry, that was 2.5 months.
Yeah.
Then we built from there to
Alpha Zero.
Alpha Zero, which
Yeah.
which we released December 15th, and we had 2,500 testers, and that was a huge jump from PAX to
Right.
Alpha Zero. That's where we implemented our launcher, we had the back-end systems, we had progression, we had persistence to level 10, we had 4 archetype classes available, we had over 100 skills available, we had 27 monsters in the zone, we had a 16 square kilometer map, which is roughly the size of Skyrim, we had 7 dungeons, we had 2 main bosses, we had a bunch of storylines.
We had
and
a
quests.
functioning node system.
The node system was functional, collecting experience, progression to stage 3, showing the base designs of the game, literally built
Yeah.
within less than 6 months.
So that was all of our core systems, all of our back end, a lot of that stuff going on. And again, it was a technical test mostly, but we wanted to really kind of test all of our design philosophies like in a live environment with actual players and not just on a whiteboard.
And plus, we needed stuff to test, right? Like we
right.
need things to happen when you push buttons.
Yes, absolutely. And then the key point from there was that putting that out in the hands again, getting feedback from 2,500 testers, and we didn't spend a lot of time on the combat. That was not our primary focus. But obviously, that two-edged sword came back to bite us a little bit, where people said, "Hey, this combat looks bad. It doesn't look fun. This is too slow. It's all just feedback that we knew we were going to spend time on, but the player didn't necessarily know, or at least some percentage of them didn't. So our next step was, okay, our next milestone was Alpha 1. And Alpha 1, we obviously wanted to have 1/4 of the map size. We wanted to have all the base archetype classes available. We wanted to have persistence and progression to level 20. We wanted to have a lot of things there. But we decided, because of player feedback and wanting to see us doubling down and focusing on development of combat, that we were going to add an additional phase to Alpha 1. And that's what we announced at PAX East, was that we're splitting Alpha 1 into 2 phases. So those people who had access to Alpha 1, now we're going to see the first phase, which is purely dedicated to focusing on action combat,
Right.
getting that system nailed down, because from the very beginning, our combat system was always approached as, this is going to be a hybrid combination of action and tab. We're going to give players the agency to kind of dictate in their skill tree the ability to either spec into action-oriented skills or tab-oriented skills. And we knew from a design standpoint that that's probably going to be the most difficult
Yeah.
system to
Without a
nail, because 1, it's the most tactile, 2, it's the most interacted with on the player's behalf, and then 3, if that system doesn't feel good, then the rest of the game is really having a problem.
Right.
So we created a whole new phase that we were going to introduce that was just going to focus on. And there's a lot of systems that go into the phase 1 that just don't relate to combat, actually. There is the matchmaking process for the in-game arena system. There is the server architecture that needs to get set up to host a bunch of. There's the live game ops that's going to be present. There is the production of many skills. There's the projectile-based systems. There's the raycasts that need to be completed. There's the whole character art pipeline, the environment art pipeline, building that world. There's a lot of stuff outside of just the action combat actually that goes into making that phase 1, because we want it to be fun. We want it to
Right.
be presentable. We also want it to be a good time for people who are helping us test that.
And it's also an extension of our Alpha Zero test, right? Where in terms of like, we want to get a bunch of people in one small area and just wreck our servers as hard as we can, right? So like, it's a way for us to like quickly get people in,
Right.
keep them engaged, doing a lot of stuff on the server, and then seeing what the results are and trying to increase that number. Because
Right.
at the end of the day, we want these castle sieges to be really huge events, and the only way to get to that point is to really, see where our limits are and fix those limits and try to keep increasing the number of people we can put in one small area.
Right. And in fact, since we're on the subject of art a little bit, we can actually probably touch on what that process is, because as design is iterating, art just keeps chugging along. That's a train that doesn't stop.
Has everybody seen the most recent action combat video?
Yeah, for the most part.
Yeah, so you'll notice there was a huge upgrade in what the game looked like, right? And a lot of that is these guys' responsibility. Obviously it's a game that's in production, so stuff like this is always going to continue to improve. But in the last 4 months, the difference between where we came from and where we are now is just massive.
Yeah.
Right, Matt?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, Matt,
I mean,
do you want to talk us through some of the pictures and weapons? And
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the slides that we decided to bring here, they go all the way back to PAX West, and where we are now. But more importantly, all the weapons and stuff you guys are seeing and all the armor that you guys are seeing, from the wand to the scepter, they kind of speak to what Stephen and Jeff are talking about, which is everything is not only scalable by progression, but it's also scalable by customization. So our challenge was to get all the benchmark testing that we needed to have done, the scale, because MMOs are all about scaling everything, in a constant progression to scale eventually up to level 50 and higher. So our whole focus was getting this stuff to work technically at PAX West last year. So this huge jump in detail and fidelity that you guys are seeing scales all the way up, not only in our test, environment, but it also scales all the way up to the larger, product a couple years.
Yeah,
so,
the goal is kind of to do have every piece feel like a one-off piece, but not actually create it that way, right?
Yeah, everybody kind of, all MMOs kind of start with your t-shirt and pants, right? And then from there you start making all these decisions about how you want to look unique in the world. And one of the things I've talked about on all the projects I work with is people really kind of fall in love with these early previs images, but really MMO players get in and the first thing they do is have a sense of uniqueness to the way that they look. So, my job really, and Michael's job, is to make sure that everything you see is customizable, everything is modular, everything can grow and scale, so that the players make the final decision really on what they look like, regardless of, how they're playing the game. So these are by far the most complex armor sets. And just to kind of level set the character team, Chris Myers is one of the animators, and I think he nailed it where he said, we're putting together the Navy SEALs of character teams. I think the average experience on a character team is about 13 years of MMO. It is not the average character.
To put it in perspective, Matt's former art director on H1Z1, EverQuest, DC Universe.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of
good
visual
characters.
Yeah. So these characters have, on average, even at their base look, about 11 pieces of customizable detail, and that scales up to as many as 27 pieces, and that's at level 10 and 20. So the amount of modular sets is amazing, and more importantly, even the combat video that some of you guys saw, the key to that is those are real game assets. They're not demo assets. These aren't fakey assets. They're running through a character pipeline. It's the same pipeline we will scale up. It's all real. So we're not just hitting the shows like GamesCon. This is, in the most literal sense, we log in through the client, we get onto the server, we play test for real. That's unusual for an MMO within a year. We're usually running off of a local dev box and coming up with these simulated situations. Steven's thing from day one has been for real all the time. Client for real all the time. Security check for real when you get in a server. So,
and that's because, as a player going through previous alphas and betas of different games, I hated seeing something on the screen and then logging in and experiencing something completely different.
And we'll tell Steven, no, Steven, usually that's like 18 months out. He goes, no. We do it for real, take the time. As a player, this drove me crazy when I was 10 years old, and he just goes off about this all the time in the studio. So he got the right collective, skill set and talent in there, but the objective all the time is to run through all the systems, all the security checks, and stop-off points to the server with real content going through real pipelines. So, like some of the stuff you guys are, so for instance, like this right here is the orb. So you guys have seen like way early on, even in our Kickstarter, you saw her running around with the orb in the book. So we're really showing a progression, a year later at PAX, that all these real game assets have made in a short amount of time.
And one of the things Matt's doing for us that's really great is he said modular, he kind of blew by it, but all these pieces can be put together to make like hundreds of very unique, very heroic looking sets, right? So you're not gonna be running around in the world and seeing a bunch of people who look just like you. You're really gonna be able to customize yourself and search for something that reflects the way you want to look and you want to play and you want to feel when you're running around the world.
Yeah, and when he says hundreds of looks, that's just right now. That's with the base sets that we have right now.
Yeah.
You know, when we launch, it's gonna probably be in the millions.
Yeah. Right now,
I mean, if you're
terms of
talking
combinations,
permutations,
yeah.
right? Like, yeah, it's gonna be
at
a
the
lot.
base level right now, there are 21 base level sets. If you add in material offsets and combos, it literally scales to over 5,000. Those are
Right
like
now.
real numbers.
I was trying to do that number
We're-
in my head, and I'm like,
It scales
And
really,
the,
really
the
fast.
reason for that, I mean, the reason for that is it's, I mean, yes, it's difficult to do that. It is a lot of work to do that.
Upfront
but-
work.
But from a player's perspective, the ability to capitalize on the RPG element of the MMORPG to define a unique look on behalf of your character is something I know I've always wanted to see. I don't like walking around in a world and seeing cookie cutter set after cookie cutter set. I want to see customizable aspects of those attachments, those unique filigrees, those defining features of a set that's available to the player to
And
dictate.
this is what's fun. This is one of my most fun things. This is my favorite project I've ever done, and I'm not just saying that because Steven's sitting here, but one of the even if he didn't sign my checks, I would say this. But the best part about Ashes, and this is sincere, so normally work at video game companies, everyone's kind of overthinking the process because they're not thinking about it as a fan. And when you're doing like, you know, the base looks, the t-shirt and pants, you constantly get this from your creative director. Well, we don't want that to look too cool. Steven is the total opposite. Shoot for the moon. Make it ridiculously badass. Go way farther. No, even the base t-shirt and pants should look amazing high fantasy. It's always a theme. So the artists have this incredible sense of autonomy to go upstairs, and on this project, the artist designed the aesthetics for the armor.
The artists are
Very
literally upstairs. That's why he's
Unusual.
in.
And you just get to blow it out and just keep pushing it farther and farther. So me and Steven kind of established this agreement. I'll push it too far, you tell me when to come back. So
To be fair, I have had to say a couple times come back. To be fair.
never tell an artist to just go to the moon.
Now, and just to be clear, you know, obviously the progression there from start to finish is still a relevant and
man.
uniquely defined one. You will know who's in a starter set and who is in the most badass, you know, looking
It's
good
ridiculous.
set.
But you shouldn't look
It's
like a
ridiculous.
pauper when you start on
Exactly.
day one.
You are a hero who has literally stepped through the divine gateway into a world of complete darkness and treachery, and you are here to set things right and build civilization again. That's a heroic person.
Yeah, you're already a hero when you arrive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
awesome. So speaking of worlds of darkness and
Treachery.
darkness, horror,
Darkness
and,
and
high
poetry.
fantasy, I actually thought it would be great to have Michael talk about some of the worlds that he's building, and then we'll bring it over to Akil to see how he keeps up with you guys on the technical side and continues to follow the timeline. So, Mike, why don't you tell us a little bit about your environments that you're creating in this heroic world, which
Well, this is where we basically started from Alpha Zero. So as you can see, it's pretty rough. And then we knew going on early on that we were going to have to build some really, really big stuff. So a lot of it was just basically building in the pipelines in order to, you know, do things a little bit more modularly and put together processes and things so we can actually be able to build things that you could scale, you know, for like our dynamic world that we're creating. So in this Alpha 1 we have here, we focused on kind of three sort of race environment types, which is like the human, the elves, and then this tribal sort of set. And yeah, so basically as the nodes progress, we're kind of like trying to, like I was trying to basically make a progression of sort of tech level, you know, when it goes from like the humans per se. So like humans will start with their housing and stuff, and there'll be more Western sort of influence, like Old West almost styling, and then it would sort of like branch off into, you know, castles that were, you know, a little bit more of the classical style, and then like as they sort of progressed into metro, you know, they would like kind of move into more of a Gothic kind of direction. So yeah, so basically it kind of gives you a sense of like progression as the nodes are progressing up as far as tech level and everything. And and then like on the so
I mean, the important part of this, is from an art perspective, not just character, but environment as well, is that modular capability of the building the world around you, both from character and environment, allows for such diverse landscapes that are actually capable of being built into a production-worthy pipeline that's going to deliver on a timely time, right?
Yeah, exactly.
The key is you want to achieve the best in an acceptable time period.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. You get an X amount of time, go.
Right,
do
absolutely.
the best
So
you can.
I think with Alpha 1 and the environment that we've built for this Alpha 1 Phase 1 testing period, we now have actually buildable buildings that are now capable to the players as well, and that has a variety of modular tools that can construct those.
Exactly.
Right, yeah, and then we have 3 castle sets that are building castle set you built that John built recently, and then the old Metropolis one from the Desert
that's
videos.
correct.
Stuff is awesome.
And you'll see that here in a gameplay video we're going to show shortly. But
We also came into a problem where we had to build them to be destructible,
Right.
Which brought a whole other sort of aspect
that is
into
true.
it.
So
So a lot of the development was like trying to get that to work, and like how are we going to put that together? And so in the modular, way that we were building stuff, we also had to accommodate all that kind of thing. Right. So then when we make the world, things we can actually go and collapse this stuff in the end. And
Yeah, those are highly difficult things to do, all in parallel to each other, and still be play testing every single day.
I kind of threw that on them, I think, in the last month and a half, the destructible part, because I think we were working under the assumption that the terrain assets were not going to be destructible. For phase one, it wasn't in part of that deadline. But we had one of our engineers actually was able to achieve in a much shorter time period.
We thought it was
going to
take a long time to develop this system, and then it ended up taking like a couple days.
I think it was 2 days.
Wait a second. Whoa. You're telling the wrong.
So we gained some time.
A little bit wrong.
A little short? Okay,
Little
go ahead.
short
Go
there.
ahead.
No, we were in the meeting, and we were
Right.
talking about it, and Kevin was basically telling us how it was going to take, what was it, a month?
Like a month and a half.
Month and a half or something like that.
Not to mention any
and then
names.
he literally went to his desk and had something up and running for
In,
destroying
2 hours.
pieces in it was like a half hour.
It's like 30 minutes.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
So now when I heard that we had something up and running, that's when I was like, all right, producers, add it to the schedule. It's in phase 1.
But then it was actually having to go back through all the assets that we had already created and then trying to retrofit all
Then
that
the art
technique
stuff
into it
starts
and that
to
kind of
happen.
thing.
Yeah,
So,
but then Bacon stepped up and said, okay, if this blueprint's working, then we can start retrofitting all the buildings. So
Exactly.
that was good.
And one of the cool things too is about these modular systems, right? It's really easy to kind of make the assumption that modularity ends up feeling generic, but that's really kind of not the case in this product.
No.
The modularity gives us a chance to make every kind of place feel like it has its own character. And
I mean, that's really the thing,
a
too.
testament to the artist too.
It really is,
you have to
because
build it right.
the artist challenge is that you really have to plan your assets years ahead. And you also have to plan the design changes in a way where you don't gate the designers at all. So you're always think of it from the standpoint you're building this massive freeway system. You don't really know where all the stop signs are, but you just know people need to get on and get off, and you have to plan that way ahead, because you don't want the designers to ever feel like you never really want to tell designers no. You always kind of want to give them 3 options, to get home. So I think what is the most challenging in our world with our teams really is getting them to really shoot for the moon now, but understand ultimately we have to finish at Jupiter 3 years from now.
Exactly.
So the modular stuff definitely is always where do we build the freeway system and get the game done and get it working at a decent frame rate?
It's totally true. So, how do you support these guys? I mean, you're talking about we got this destructible system up in 30 minutes. It's great, but you're the one that's got to crack that code. I mean,
my primary goal is to take the things that they want to do and make sure that designers can do it quickly and efficiently, right? So like the destructible things. Sure, everything is destructible, but now designers don't want to place every single destructible asset and make it destructible and associate it with a building, right? And
It
so
would take us so long.
yeah, and so we have to build a system so like everything inside the building destructs when the building destructs, right? So the table blows up when the wall blows up or floor blows up. And so yeah, there's work on the back end to make sure that's all scalable and fast and efficient and doesn't break every third time. But then even aside from that, it's taking a lot of the stuff that's in our imagination and making it work, right? So Steven has an idea like, oh, I want you to be able to have a shield that grows, you get behind it and you hide and projectiles will bounce off and it'll be like, well, oh God.
Shield hype.
Yeah, okay. It's working. It's not in the video, but it's
This
working.
is a very recent conversation, by the way.
That was last week.
That was a fun conversation to have with Matt, who's like, you want the shield to do what?
I mean, this is why I love doing the panels with these guys. And he's laughing for a reason. Is because design has all these amazing ideas, and this goes back again to not really saying no, because ultimately saying no to designers means it's something that you guys aren't going to get, right?
Exactly.
So they come upstairs and they're like, oh, we have this shield and it transforms and it flies up in the air. I might be exaggerating, but it does all these crazy things. And I go, what? And it turns into this huge meeting of a kill talking about the technical design of it. And then it comes down to, okay, well, we have to make this work with 21 armor sets. So Intrepid, what I love is it moves at a different speed. And then because of our transparency, you guys can see, like in today's video, just keep in mind, like 1 year ago we were all together. And 1 year ago, this is where the game is now.
1 year ago, we had a demo.
Oh, you're about to see the difference.
The conversations that we're having up here they lend a lot to the speed that we work at. But what's great about this is, and this is the most sincere thing I can say, we don't get in conflicts. We literally will talk through, and Jeff is always the referee, because you are.
I'm the center.
Jeff is always the one that goes, guys, listen to each other. Gals, listen to the guys. And we will go back and forth at real time and figure it out all in an impromptu standing circle, and everybody scatters back to their desks and within days tries to get the stuff implemented. It's a very, very fast moving, but it works.
I'm curious, Akil, what's one of your favorite, because you talk about the last year, and again, the pace that these guys work at, and I think part of it's the design philosophy, Stephen, that you put forth in terms of producing content. But what was a highlight for you on the technical side to see the imaginations of these guys come together and you go, yeah.
Well, getting invisibility working, it seemed like it should have been a very easy thing, but it just ballooned out into a million different problems, and getting that all working again was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
There were a couple other abilities that were like, they were just beasts, and just solving all those problems and seeing them actually functioning and not spitting out errors and crashing the server is always just a good feeling.
Yeah, you wouldn't think it would be hard to, be invisible, swap a weapon, have that weapon be invisible, but it's actually a really difficult problem.
Yeah, and make sure everyone sees you invisible and sees your weapon invisible and sees
And
your armor.
the great thing is that our design team, Akil and Jeff, and they're supported by a really strong engineering team.
Yeah.
And,
We're not here,
and
but we love
who are
them.
not here, but we do love them. And whenever there's something that can't be solved by a designer, they only need to turn their head and say, "Okay, you need to code this."
Yeah,
they're like,
Kevin.
"Beep beep beep boop boop." It's done.
So you talked a little bit about the timeline you guys have been working with. We've talked about the milestones of
Do we
only
have
1
the
year.
timeline yet?
I don't think do we have it? Do we have it, Pete? We don't know. We're putting Pete under more pressure.
We should have one timeline for sure. We can bring up the Alpha 1 Phase 1 timeline.
Can we do that?
Any of our timelines.
Any of the timelines. There we go. Okay.
All right.
Okay, cool. What does this have? Oh, it's got the Castle Siege and the Horde mode. So yeah, talking a little bit about the the phases of Alpha 1. Again, Phase 1 is really a phase that we kind of pivoted towards of the Alpha 1 delivery.
PvP and action combat is really what we want to focus on.
And really nailing down the matchmaking aspects of it. Do we want to go to the video and then?
Yes. Sorry. I'm going to interpret their thought. I mean,
Sure, that's fine. Okay, we want to go. Okay, can we just as a reference point, can we show last year combat? I know it's only like 10 seconds worth, but just to preface this.
Neither have I.
Wow.
I just just put that in your mind for a moment before you're about to see the new hotness.
Really internalize it.
I just want just to give you a reference point of what, because I'm going to tell you something. As a player, isn't that crazy? You don't see stuff like that usually from studios because it's dangerous. It literally is dangerous because in the studios, they're looking at it like, look what we've accomplished in this short period of time. This took a few weeks or a month or something.
We got combat
working. We got combat working, right? And,
working.
And excited. And let's show the community the progress. And the community's like, no, this looks like crap. Game dead on arrival. You know, it's like, they don't understand, you know, generally what the process is because typically studios don't show the process. They show a final product a month out from beta and then hype, marketing, and go. And then it's a flash fire. So, you know, that's typically how it works.
Can we see that again? I really want to see it again.
You really want to do that to Steven? Jeff, you said it.
Show it again.
Oh my God.
Ready? I'll shoutcast it.
It hurts
Stop.
my soul.
Go. No, stop. No, wait, go. Okay, stop.
Okay. Look at that skeleton. That skeleton was on. Yeah.
Skeleton was cool.
Okay. Okay. So now what we're going to show you has been a little under 4 months of work on the combat side. Just under 4 months of work.
It's basically the end of Alpha Zero.
This is the end of Alpha Zero till now. And you know, as I said, the art train never stops. You're going to see supreme advances just in the environment and the character pipeline and the weapons and whatnot. And then you're going to see pure action combat that we will eventually integrate into the combat system. So let's take a look at that new video. Let's get that music up.
You know what's great about that reaction is the 2 split-second pause before the clap because you're like, oh, I gotta clap now. Like, that is insane. Thank you all. I am very curious. I have a very quick question. You guys worked on EverQuest. And I don't know how many people in the room go back that far in MMOs. I mean, there's a lot of us, right? What's it like to see this level of advancement and combat and speed and visceral experience for you guys as designers?
Sometimes back in the day, we never thought stuff like this was possible. Like in terms of, these are systems that we really can't touch because that's not what an MMO is, and this is not something that we can do technologically. Like it's too hard to have this kind of pace. So yeah, I mean, it's. I feel like we're breaking barriers with what we're doing right now.
It's great to not have sacred cows, right?
Yeah.
Like to just be able to play with things and see what feels good and go with what feels good rather than have conventions that we need to stick with.
Yeah, Akil just totally nailed it. And go back even to a conversation earlier, working with Steven. Because of how Steven interacts with you guys in Discord at the owner, executive, all things level is so unusual. So the influence that the audience has with Steven as a fan first and a player, it's just different. So instead of Akil was saying with these white elephants, Steven is emotional about since he's played games at 7 years old and the limits he wants to push. So even just for me, seeing the fidelity that you're able to do in Unreal Engine and the size of the worlds, and the fact that and without naming certain EverQuest products,
Like EverQuest?
The one specifically, we never could get things like the Underrealm to work. So what stands out to, and I see you nodding your head, so what stands out to me is we couldn't get them to work at other places, but they're working now, right? So from a technological standpoint, what we're able to do in a very short amount of time using a really superior engine and giving these talented people the tools, it just changes everything.
Also keep in mind, all that stuff was live. That was all us playing.
It's recorded gameplay.
That was literally every single scene you saw there was recorded on Thursday. Wow. And then it was cut together yesterday.
Yeah. Yesterday into the next
Intrepid speed.
Yeah. No, in truth, and I'll say this.
Are we done yet, Steven?
It
No,
was
do it again.
Dropboxed, I think, at 2 in the morning this morning.
I got your text. I gotta. Seriously though, as fans, and I think this is true. Thank you for live gameplay, and not some crazy cinematic to try to sell us. I think as gamers, we know, right? We're not playing in a cinematic.
We all know.
That looks awesome, and the visual effects are just unbelievable. Make you feel epic, right? That's the new tagline, Nico. Make you feel epic.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely. And I mean, taking a little bit back for a second, the engine itself, I know there was a lot of flack we got early on about, Unreal's not a capable MMORPG engine, but the bottom line is it is. And
It is if you have the right engineers.
absolutely. And the benefit of Unreal not only is epic support, but also the ability for our engineers to get into the source code of that and make what needs to work for our game work. That's why, talking a little bit about Phase 1. Let's go back to the timeline. Maybe we pull that timeline back up. So we'll give you a little details on Phase 1. The first it's not up here. Actually, the first thing should be the battlegrounds. So when we have actually another announcement as well. We will begin testing for Phase 1, starting with a select number of Alpha 1 backers that we will randomly select and include. This is our stress test phase, and that will begin this week. So I just want you guys to know that, one, if you're not an Alpha 1 tester, make sure to give some big props to Alpha 1 testers because they're going to be going through some serious testing. And that serious testing might be sitting at the launcher, might be sitting at the lobby and waiting for a game for hours. And
We should put the windmill monster back in, just in case.
Windmill monster. We
Just
should
in
totally
case.
do a
We'll
windmill
upgrade
monster, yeah. Excuse me. But that testing, we're going to start stress testing the servers. We're going to get matchmaking up and running. We have some new UI that you just saw there a little bit. So we're able to bring this Alpha 1 testing to you guys early, a whole quarter than what we actually put in our roadmap early. Now, I don't know how many developments you guys follow from MMORPG's perspective, but the term early is very rarely heard. And one thing I love about this team and just the absolute speed, dedication, commitment, the veteran knowledge, experience that's on the team we've been able to pull together is what allows us to bring something early. And it feels good to actually make a commitment and arrive earlier than expected. And I hope it feels good for you guys too. So we have 3 different modes that will be present in Alpha 1 Phase 1. The first mode is going to be a Battlegrounds, a last man standing mode. And that's going to have 100 players on a map. It's going to have a lot of high octane energy and activity. It's going to be very streamable. It's going to be no NDA. There's going to be a lot of different weapons and skills that we're going to be testing. Each of the weapons and armor that you can find in the world are going to have unique spells and skills associated with them that interact with the terrain from a defensive standpoint, from a utility standpoint, from an offensive standpoint. It's going to be able for you to build buildings, complete structures, watchtowers, and defensive pillboxes type structures, arcane structures. You're going to have a lot of fun activity there. The second mode we will be implementing, which is there a timeline on this one? Yeah, there we go. The testing for the Castle Siege mode will begin near the end of December. The Castle Siege mode is going to start with a 100 versus 100 player map. You're going to be defenders versus the attackers. You're going to have a large destructible castle. You're going to have siege weaponry that's deployable, can be piloted by the players. There will be a guild mode where you can queue into the matchmaking process with 20 total players. So you will have guild systems in place. Account management systems is completely revamped and will be launched, I believe, on October 5th, right?
October 5th is the plan currently,
The plan currently for our new account management system. You're going to see the ability to make friends, to create guilds there. You're going to have objective-based components to the Castle Siege system. Defenders will have key strategic objectives to maintain, and attackers will have destroy key strategic objectives to swing the battle in their favor. Additionally, you're going to have class kits. This is where we will introduce class kits into the matchmaking system. So you're going to have the traditional Trinity type class kits that are going to be present, representing different skills that will be present eventually in the MMORPG. And then the other thing, the last mode that will be available, and you saw actually in this video for the first time, I think since we first even showed the monster coin system back over a year ago before Kickstarter, you saw players playing as monsters. In the Horde mode, you will be able to play on the Horde side as monsters, as well as defending a city with 50 cooperative players in the center of a city or castle against different waves of monsters, and then eventually bosses, where you'll begin to test boss mechanics. You'll have additional features that are going to be present, co-op objectives, waves being more difficult than the previous. You're going to have the boss mechanics and legendary creatures available, and merchant systems where you're going to collect the loot and goods from the waves that you destroy and then purchase and upgrade items and gear and whatnot for your character. So, you know, this phase was, as we said, added as a separate phase to Alpha 1, as a complementary bonus phase to Alpha 1. And the reason for that is because we had the ability to test systems that exist separate from the traditional persistent MMORPG server that has progression and levels and whatnot, because we really wanted to nail down the action side of things, and we could do so with testing our Castle Siege mechanics, testing our monster coin system, testing live account operations.
Yeah, it's basically just getting all the players into one spot so we can just iterate over and over and over again. All these matches are going to be generating lots of data for us, and we can use that data to really refine what we're doing when we get to Alpha 2.
Absolutely.
I also want to say we've been playing it every day in the office for like basically 3 months, and it's a lot of fun, right?
Yes.
Like you hear people yelling across the office at each other. We all know who the best players are and who to look out for. Yeah,
Wait,
Ryan,
do we all know who? Who's the best
we did.
player?
Oh, Eric, Ryan,
Oh, I
Min
thought I
McPhee.
was the best player. No, I'm just kidding.
top five. Steven.
There's that.
Top-
Thank
top
you.
five.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
What's great, and I have to iterate because we talked about this right before the panel. So most people out there on the show floor are going to be like, let's go create a game and make a battle royale game because there happens to be some popular ones right now, maybe, right? You guys said, let's take this mode, let's test it, and let's make it part of our MMO. But let's give it to our fans early so that they can actually use this and we can use the data, but they can have a good time where we're building out our full scoped world. And you say like 100 last man standing, total win, fantastic design, 100 versus 100 castle siege, I'm in. That goes back to my old school Dark Age of Camelot days. I want to be part of that fight, right? And then you go horde mode and go, wait, I can play a monster and defend this crazy place against a bunch of players and make their lives miserable? Awesome, I'm in on that. And I could do one of those any night I want. Like it's not, but the beauty of your product, and this is where I think really Intrepid is going to really truly break the ground, is that that's all going to be one game as an MMO. And I think that's the part that we all love as MMO players.
Well,
I mean, the way that
there's more actually, though. We didn't say. So the more side of that thing is, so each of these modes in Alpha 1 Phase 1, right? Oh, did we bring up the Phase 2? I'm sorry. Before we get into the Phase 1 different aspects, let's bring up the timeline. The next one. There should be one more.
There we go.
There we go.
Alpha,
Okay, so Alpha 1 Phase 2. So Phase 2 begins in the beginning of second quarter of next year. And Phase 2 is the more traditional alpha that everyone signed up for, Alpha 1. That is going to be where we integrate action combat into the tab-targeted systems. You'll have progression to level 20. Nodes will be fully featured and progress to Stage 3. Stage 3 is when most of the systems come online for node development. That's where you can declare citizenship. That's where player government happens. That's where building of housing and freeholds become a thing. We have 4 out of our 9 races will be available. All 8 base class archetypes will be available. We will have a character creation suite that will be implemented. Actually, the character creation suite we're hoping to implement in Phase 1 of Alpha 1. 25% of the total world space will be implemented and playable, so that's roughly 120 square kilometers. That is a significant size of a world. And then we will have 2 to 3 servers that are available. We have just under 10,000 testers for Alpha 1. And then Alpha 2 testing will begin in the beginning of third quarter of next year. Alpha 2 we'll have more details on that, but it's going to be a much closer to complete situation for the MMO. Now here's the exciting news for Alpha 1 Phase 1. Because this was a bonus phase, what we're going to be doing is, with these 3 modes of gameplay in Alpha 1 Phase 1, there will be roughly a little bit of over a month testing period where Alpha 1 testers will test each mode, and then we will open up the Phase 1 to every registered account on Ashes of Creation. We hope to see over... Thank you. So our Alpha 1 testers are going to be testing each of these phases. They'll have roughly about 4 months worth of pre-testing time where it's just Alpha 1 testers, and then we want to hit those servers as hard as we can with as many possible people as we can, because we know that Ashes of Creation as an MMORPG is going to be one of the largest MMORPGs that is ever going to be launched. We have a lot of pre-signed up people, more so when you compare to other products that have launched in the past. The sheer support for a subscription-based, non-pay-to-win MMORPG is huge. And we are really excited about that because this is the direction we feel that the genre should be moving in. And I think we've turned some heads for some notable companies, some large publishers, towards this direction, away from a free-to-play, pay-to-win, cash grab model. And that was our objective ever from the beginning, was to really show that the community has been shrinking because we've had these types of games rammed down our throats, and that's not what people want.
It's not that MMOs are dying; it's that the monetization scheme is dying.
Absolutely. So it is dead. So we're excited about that. Now, here's the cool thing: we will be implementing in Alpha 1, Phase 1, character creation suite and housing suite as well, where you'll be able to earn in the phase 1, the matchmaking system. You'll be able to earn cosmetics. You'll be able to share everything you earned there in the MMORPG when it launches, and the arena system will persist post-launch as well. So this will be an all-action-based arena that exists side by side with Ashes of Creation as a mode that players will get to play in and earn unique cosmetics in, and they'll be able to build a home starting in phase 1 as well. That'll probably come in the Horde mode stage, near the end of the Horde mode
Likely,
stage, the
yeah.
housing and the character creation suite. You'll be able to build a character, you'll be able to save that character and use that character for the MMORPG, and you'll be able to set your furniture and housing condition in the phase 1.
Yep.
So
That
we're pretty
was fast,
excited
but
about
you guys
that.
get all that? Like, you realize where we're going.
That was a lot of
right?
words.
That's a lot of words.
That was really good, Stephen, by the way. So, I mean, at the end of the day, the action combat video just surmises what we're all hoping for. You're adding in a great mode in the arena mode that's going to allow all of us to have a great time, and then we're building out an amazing world that we're all going to be able to share. And thank you for being a fan first and a designer later. No offense to the designers in the room.
Hey.
But it's true. And to kind of touch on, you made a point earlier when you're a kid and you see something, playing any game or watching a movie, you want to be that. And you're like, why do I have to be this? Why can't I be Darth Maul? Right? Why can't I be Darth Vader? Why do I have to be Luke Skywalker? And I think that's the part of how you put these things into games. Was that funny?
I'm sorry, I'm a Star Trek fan.
All right, wait, we can do that. We can do that.
Wars.
We got Star Wars fan.
This is our big thing. This is our big
Hang on a
thing.
minute.
We have this huge.
Why
I
can't
think on Halloween he came with a lightsaber and I gave him a comm badge.
Yeah, why can't I be
I
a
love your Star
Romulan?
Wars
Come
references.
on,
Thank you.
like-
No, you're doing good.
There are
Keep
4
going.
lights in the back of the room, Steven.
There are
There
four
are
lights.
4 lights.
There are 4 lights.
There are 4 lights.
But it's true. You see these amazing creations, and you want to play them. And I think I think that's the best part of Ashes is that you're building a game with that philosophy at its core. So, geez, you got a lot.
This
on
is
the
this
roadmap.
is my dream come true, and my endeavor is to make sure that it's your guys' dreams come true as well.
awesome. Awesome. Do we even have time for questions?
We really don't. We have like
We have 3 minutes.
Do we? Yeah, we could maybe take just maybe 2 questions.
2 questions. If somebody, there's a microphone
If
right
we have
there.
any
I think it works.
super pressing questions, first to the mic.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hey, Steven.
Hello, friend.
I think you know who I am.
Yes,
Maybe.
Zeke.
It's Zeke, but I can buy you a pronunciation book, maybe down the street. My guildies want to know, let's see. How will rating be balanced around both action combat and tab target without making one superior to the other?
Oh, good question. Good question.
It's a great question. And, to preface that before I hand it off to Jeff and Akil, is that balance, I mean, us as gamers, we know that balance is probably the most difficult design aspect, right? I mean,
especially for an MMO because it's so big.
right, because there's so many players, there's so many different permeations of class combinations that can be present, especially when you're involving, skill tree that players can spec into individually and make combos that try to break the system or whatever this deal may be. But the short answer of your question is testing. The short answer is testing. We have a lot of testing phases. The reason why phase 1 will be moved into from Alpha 1 testers to opening up to everyone that's registered right now is because we want to see every possible combination of skill from an action standpoint. And then the reason why we have now over 40,000 people who are signed up for alphas and betas is because we want that testing phase to give us a lot of data. And with that data is what we use to balance, right? I mean, we set the stage first, but
Right.
The even shorter answer, it'll be perfectly balanced first time out.
I
Nothing to worry
love
about
Akil's
here.
confidence.
Yeah.
No bugs. No bugs.
What we hope is to build lots of knobs into the system, right? Like lots of places where we can tune and balance it and figure out kind of where the right thing is. Because obviously that's a hard thing, right? Is to make sure that someone who can dodge doesn't have too much of an advantage over someone who can tab target them, right? And it is not something that we think is going to be easy, but we need to have people in there. We need to have people testing it, and we need to get it wrong, right? And then we'll find out how to get it right. So we don't have a great answer because we haven't found that answer yet. Yeah, but we'll find them in playtesting.
The way we approach it is it's basically two different philosophies. One is like a slower, tactical way of fighting, and the other one is kind of like a more frenetic, strategic way of fighting, right? And so we're trying to give like roles to both in order to make that make more sense, right? Where you might bring somebody who is purely tab targeting and somebody who is purely action-based, and they fill a role with that. So that's kind of how we're approaching it philosophically. But of course, like when the rubber hits the road, everything's going to change and explode. So that's what we're prepared for, and that's what we're planning for.
Yeah.
All right, you ready? I'm going to switch right now. Warp drive question. Go ahead, real fast.
Hey,
Engage.
How in depth do you plan on having the character creator in terms of like character templates, like just faces, or are you going to be able to fully mold the face like it's clay? Or
So there's a few things. One, well, actually, Matt, why don't you grab that? This is character creation. How intense is it going to be?
Without a doubt. I mean, and I'll be real quick, but basically from facial feature customization, hair color design, facial hair, right? Because we have dwarves, orcs, Tolnar, and a lot coming. So we have to go from pedestrial to bestial, all of it.
It's going to be very in-depth. I mean,
We'll probably have presets for everybody just to make it easy to get in the game, but you'll have all the knobs and dials that you probably expect and then some.
I mean, it's just if you look at the number of modular pieces on a character, like we were talking about earlier, the number of pieces that are built, that lends itself to hair, region of the face, super complex. Super complex. Yeah.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
we're out of
guys,
time.
I mean, you want to be around for a little
Oh,
bit
we're going to be
outside?
around afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
By the way,
We'll be
I'm
hanging out.
sorry.
Yeah,
Hold on.
tonight.
Everybody, we have a, gosh, there's so many things. We have a party tonight at the Hilton. It's at the top of the Hilton, starting at 7 o'clock. There's going to be drinks and appetizers. You can come. We're all going to be there. We can ask as many questions as you want. We also have a gift to everybody who attended our panel today. You will all be getting the PAX package cosmetic. So that's a mount, that's a cloak, and it's a statue for PAX. And then the last thing I want to do is thank everybody, honestly, not just here at this panel, but also everybody watching from the stream, everybody who's been a part of our community for the past year, who has been following development, who's been giving us feedback, who's been on Discord, on our forums, who has been supporting this project. You know, I know that the community out there for new MMORPGs can be a dangerous one with as many lasting as long as they have in development, and we recognize that, which is why we want to be as in touch with you as possible, which is why we want to be here at these events. We want to talk to you on Discord. We want to get your feedback, and we appreciate you guys supporting us, because this is why we're doing it. Not just a love of the genre, but a love of the people in the genre. We all share a common passion for gaming, for building communities, for conflict, for cooperation, for things that make this such an awesome and unique genre. And we couldn't do this without you. We thank you guys, all of you.
Thanks, everybody.